Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask the Attorney Anything. I'm Rebecca Zung, and I am so thrilled to be with you guys here. I see that I have tons of questions. This is my session where I am here live with you, answering your questions. I don't have any questions that are like pre-done or planted or anything like that. I really just answer whatever questions happen to pop up during our sessions here, which I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, now is a good time to do that. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, and that way you'll get notified when I do go live. And so I'm here to answer your questions. One of the questions I saw was from Athena. And by the way, I would love to know where you all are all tuning in from. So make sure that you let me know where you're tuning in from as well and say hi. Let's see, Athena. A forensic audit would be very helpful for my divorce from narc husband who is hiding income. Is it the judge who orders it? If so, what is required to make a case for a judge to order it? That is a really good question, and I really like that question. So the times that you would generally hire a forensic accountant in a divorce would be for three major areas. One is for if you have a valuation issue, like you need to value a business that somebody owns, or maybe a portion of a business or a share of a business or something like that. That's one main reason. The next main reason might be for a lifestyle analysis. So somebody is wanting alimony or some sort of spousal support. Lifestyle is an area that people can look at, the judge can look at in your particular state, country, or jurisdiction. You know, how much money did you spend on your lifestyle throughout the course of the marriage? So that's a second area that they can look at. And the third area is the income issue, which is what you're asking me about, Athena. And the times where you really want to look at what somebody's true income is when it's not readily obvious, when it's not super easy to do. And the only time it's really super easy to do is if somebody is like an employee, a W-2 employee, and they only get paid from one source, and it's from some company that they don't own, and they get a W-2 at the end of the year, and that's their income. And so and you can look at their pay stubs, and all that is like really, really readily available. If you have a situation like that, you don't need a forensic to help you with income. If you have a situation, though, where the income is not readily obvious, and the easiest one with that is if somebody owns their own business, or they're in some sort of a business where they get paid partially in cash or something like that, then it's harder, especially if they own their own business, though, because if they own their own business, it's possible that they are writing off a lot of expenses that maybe are allowed to be written off according to the IRS. But from a divorce standpoint, some of those expenses that may be allowed to be written off, by the IRS can be added back in the divorce. So, for example, a good example of that is like maybe your car payments. So maybe all or a portion of your car payments can be deducted from income, especially if it's a S corporation. And then that takes off income that would flow through to your personal tax return. So that kind of income can be added back in when you're trying to find out what somebody's true income is in a divorce. And the income comes into play in really three major areas in a divorce. It's the spousal support, child support, and also any claims for attorney's fees. So it is really, really important to figure out what somebody's true income is. So if you engage a forensic accountant, then you can do that. Now, if you want to engage a forensic accountant, you can just engage a forensic accountant. And then you would ask the judge, or I mean, you would ask the other side through response, a request to produce or something like that for the financial documents. You are entitled to them. So you don't need to have the judge order a forensic accountant to be appointed unless you want that forensic accountant to be a neutral third party. But I think you just want to hire your own, and then you just ask the other side for the financial documents that you want or that you're going to need. Usually what I do as the lawyer is I ask the forensic accountant, give me a list of the documents that you need, and then I turn it into a formal request to produce, and I send it over to the other side. At that point, the other side does have the option to, object to those requests if they want to. But if they object to the requests, then you're going to set those objections for hearing, and you're going to go in front of the judge and you're going to say, I need those documents because we're trying to figure out what his true income is. And the judge is going to say, well, income is certainly relevant in this case, so I'm going to order the other side to go ahead and give the documents. And if that's what happens, then at that point you're going to ask for attorney's fees because you had to go through that whole exercise. So basically, once during a divorce, either side can ask for all kinds of financial documents and information, and then they have to produce it unless they want to object to it. And if they object to it, they better have a darn good reason, because you are entitled to have full financial disclosure, and you should have full financial disclosure before you go in front of a mediator or try to do any kind of dispute resolution in the case. You will want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So let me talk just also for a minute about hiding income as far as like people who get paid in cash. It's, very hard to track. So sometimes the way that we track that is through what we call like a reverse lifestyle analysis, which is how much has been being spent on things. In other words, this couple could not have had this lifestyle unless there was money coming in from somewhere. I've seen people where on paper they look like they make $25,000 a year, but they live in $1 million house and their kids go to private school and they both drive luxury vehicles. And okay, so where's the money coming from? So you can do like what we call a reverse lifestyle analysis if you think somebody's hiding income as well. That's another way that you can do it. The other way is like if somebody is, let's say they own a restaurant or something like that, and a lot of people pay in cash. And this is the most expensive way, is you actually have an auditor go sit in the restaurant from, open till close for like a full week and watch every single transaction that goes through that place. That is extremely expensive to do. I don't recommend it unless there's lots and lots of money that needs to be counted. And at that point, you would need a court order to allow that to happen. Otherwise, you can't just have somebody go sit in somebody's business for a week or whatever. So you would need a court order to allow that to happen. So that's a really, really good question from Athena. And I wanted to make sure that I addressed that in a lot of different ways, because when you are dealing with narcissists, there's oftentimes a problem with hiding money or using money to control the other side. So, I did a survey in my Facebook group, and it turned out that money was like the number one way that narcissists use to control their soon-to-be ex-spouses. So it is a really, really important topic. And because income does impact so many things, it impacts so much of the divorce process, it really is important to get a handle on what somebody's true income is. So, and by the way, there's one other little secret that I want to give you guys when it comes to looking at somebody's true income. Even if they are a W-2 employee, you will want to potentially subpoena their pay records from the company and ask the company to give you the information as to where the pay has been directed, maybe over the last couple of years. What accounts, account numbers, routing numbers, all that sort of thing, so that way you can see if any money has been directed somewhere else, like a bonus or something like that. That's a really, really like kind of a tricky thing that nobody else has really ever seen before. So Athena says, perfect, thanks. Thank you, Athena, for a great question. So let's see. I do see that there's a bunch of questions with regard to income taxes. Somebody is saying that they signed income taxes. Somebody is saying that they owe back taxes. Those are questions that you're definitely going to want to talk to a CPA or a tax attorney about. I even on here, I'm not giving you legal advice, but I'm certainly not giving you tax advice either. That's something that should be looked at by somebody who really has an expertise in tax. So thank you all so much for being on this call. If you like this video, make sure you give me a like. And you share this video, because this was actually a really great topic today that's been asked of me. And hi, Shasir, thank you for being on here. It says you are awesome. And somebody's saying forensic accountants are worth the money, and they definitely are. They really, really can be helpful. If you have, but the thing about forensic accountants, I do want to say, is that you want to make sure you're not going to spend, $5,000 to get back $2,000, right? You want to make sure it's worth it. Spend $5,000 if you're going to get 50 back or something like that. Make sure you take a calculated risk with that, because they are professionals and they do want to get paid. So if you want to spend the money, or if you need to spend the money, just make sure that it's going to be worth it for you in the end. With that. So Rachel says, thank you so much for all of your help and advice. Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here. And Ellen says, just got your book, Life Changer. Oh, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. And I love seeing all of you here on my AAA sessions, Ask the Attorney Anything. If I didn't get a chance to answer your question, make sure that you sign up for one of my webinars, my free webinars, or pop over with me on Thursday, and I'll be doing this again. If you haven't downloaded my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet, go ahead and do that at winmynegotiation.com. If you haven't joined my free private Facebook group, come do that now too. That is a place where so many people are helping and supporting each other, and I would love for you to have access to that free help as well. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that now. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. And thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm Rebecca Zung, and I send all of you light and peace and courage and strength. And I will see you in the next video. That was a good